Well, this video is probably going to be very off topic today, but it's a topic that needs to be said. Mental health. You know, these days, lots of things are contributing to a poor mental health for many people, whether it be COVID, or their jobs, or the current political climate. A lot of things are not really great in a lot of people's minds these days. In content creation, however, it's a little bit of a different story, and the internet is fickle. You know, one day you may think you're on the top of the world, you're killing it with those YouTube views and watch time, and then the next, you drop off in the ratings and you feel like your career is over. I've been there certainly, and it hurts. This is a game of who's better than the rest. If you can't keep up with the competition, then what's the point of continuing? Now, I've been in this hole many times, and I've dug myself out of it many times, so I have a unique perspective that a lot miss. So today, let's take a look at some common mental health issues and see if we can find any solutions for you that will hopefully help you get through these trying times that you're going through. Before we begin, I'd like to mention that I stream on Twitch a few times a week. Work prevents a more consistent schedule, so I announce my week's streams over on Twitter ahead of time. You can also find the schedule on my Twitch page as well, but if you want more accurate and up-to-date schedules, Twitter is where it's going to be. So if you are following already, the link to both my Twitch channel and my Twitter page is going to be down below. Anyway, before we begin, there's something I should say first and foremost, and that I am not a psychiatrist. I am not a doctor. I don't know anything about intricate psychiatrical details. Everything I'm going to be laying out in this video is from my personal experience. And what I've learned from my counselors and therapists growing up. So my perspective may be unique to yours, therefore my methods may not actually work. So with that in mind, let us begin. Content creation is hard on the mental state, where people like me tend to focus on numbers, because followers can mean power and influence, subscriber count can mean wealth and financial stability, stuff that we tend to be drawn to when we look at that number. Like, we see that number as a score in a game, or we see it as a score in a football game, or whatever. You know, we are drawn to that naturally, and it can put us into some pretty poor mental states when we focus too much on it. They give us a sense of how well our careers are going for us at the current moment, whether or not we have one to begin with. But that is a very myopic way of looking at the situation. Those numbers at the end of the day are still numbers. They can mean anything apart from what I've just mentioned. So people are driving themselves into insanity, just trying to increase those numbers even a little bit more, trying to get that taste of the Twitch or YouTube pie, just to find themselves driven to insanity because of it. Focusing on numbers does nothing but hurt you, and that mental energy can be best spent elsewhere, like making content. You know, a lot of people will tell you the best way to grow on Twitch is to build a following elsewhere and then move it over to Twitch. Anyway, back on topic. So I'm often described as being a very enthusiastic person, and I can really attribute that to my ADHD. Now, I have mentioned this on Twitter before, and it's something worth mentioning here too, is that some people I've talked to say like, oh, I wish I was just enthusiastic as you. I wish I could have that level of enthusiasm constantly with all that high energy. And I would say, well, it's because of my ADHD. And they said like, oh, I wish I had that. It's like, ADHD has its benefits, yes. However, it's not really a catch-all. It doesn't provide a magical key that says, yes, you're going to have this level of enthusiasm consistently. You're never going to feel down, anything like that. Because people like me suffer some pretty devastating side effects from it. Rejection sensitivity is probably the biggest one, which I won't go into detail here. Because this is not the channel for it. But people are always saying, like, you know, wish they had enthusiasm. And there are certain ways you could go about keeping that enthusiasm when you don't have ADHD. You know, one of my main go-to things for maintaining a level of enthusiasm when I'm feeling down is music. Now, Sid Meier's Civilization 6 has a game full of great music to do this with. Gall's theme, if in fact at the time of recording this, the third leader pack for the New Frontier Pass expansion was just released, and Gall was one of the civilizations added. Their atomic theme is so good. In fact, I'll play you a little bit of clip right here real quick. Now, just do it. Do it! Now, that gets me going better than a cup of coffee. Well, not really, but it does make me feel better. The song's main chorus is based off of the Belgian national anthem, which, compared to other national anthems around the world, is a little bit more upbeat and inspirational than others. And that's what I really like about it, with also that atomic era kind of electronic spaces and drums and stuff like that added in. It makes it feel a whole lot more upbeat and inspirational, which I like. And that could work for you too. If either way, if I need to pick me up and I'm feeling down, this is and will be my go-to music for that kind of thing. But what if that high energy rhythm doesn't get you out of your slump? Well, I've been there, done that. Music is not really a catch-all for everybody. One may suggest to look up inspirational quotes, and it's easy to see why it could work, but here's why it generally won't. Ever heard Dr. Temple Grandin? Heard of her? No? Well, she is the most prominent figure in the autism community. She is more well known, and she knows more and more is more revered in this community than anybody else. Because she is best known for her work in designing cattle processing facilities. In fact, what she was able to do is that she's able to lay out and visualize and simulate in her head how a particular design would work, and if it works in her head, she can put it into practice. In fact, this ability of hers is so famous is that HBO made a movie about her following the same name, Dr. Temple Grandin, or not Dr. just Temple Grandin. It's a good movie, you should see it. Watch it. While it is true that Dr. Grandin is a role model for people in my community, the autism community, it's not really the same. The advice that she gives is not applicable to the 99% of the world, because only 1% of the entire world's population has autism. Therefore, her advice that she would give to people with autism only applies to 1% of the world. So it's not really a good way to gauge how you should be going about mental health issues. Now, say if you wanted to find somebody a little bit less on the spectrum, take Robert Downey Jr. for example. A man who in his younger years was well below the poverty line. He was told by everybody in school that he was just doomed to fail, and for a time he was very close to that. But now we know him today as Iron Man. If you want to be an entrepreneur, Bill Gates is a fantastic person to look up to. You know, Microsoft founder and CEO turned philanthropist. He is the original creator of the Windows operating system, which, say what you will about it today, back then it was a really big deal. And now he works running the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, is also a recipient of the Presidential Medal of Freedom. You can't get any more role model than that. But with that being said, how does this all fall into mental health? Well, a lot of things with content creation, back to the main topic at hand, is that people don't really have anyone to look up to. You know, they see other YouTubers and see how successful they are, but it's not really the best way to gauge success if you're just using that as your only source. You know, just like Bill Gates or Albert Einstein or Stephen Hawking or Dr. Temple Grandin or Robert Downey Jr. or anybody of that sort, they are celebrities in their own way. Celebrities, believe it or not, are some of the greatest sources of inspiration because they all have backstories that, frankly, people on YouTube really can't get. Because a lot of people on YouTube come from a much different background. It's not quite the same thing. So looking up a real celebrity, I'm not that saying that YouTube isn't a real celebrity playground, I just consider it to be different. But anyway, yeah, looking up different celebrities as their role models is good because they have a much bigger influence than you probably would expect them to. A role model at the end of the day is somebody to inspire you, because I assure you, they were in the same hole that you're in right now multiple times, but they dug themselves out of it. And they had their own role models to look up to. Everybody has a role model. Everybody needs a role model because that's what helps them get out of dumps like what we are in now. For me, I don't really have a switch that just says, hey, start making content. I kind of need to build up to it. And while that may not be the case for most people, it could be still applicable to some. And how you go about that will differ from person to person. Usually what I like to do is I watch a few YouTube videos, you know, drink the drink, and then start working an hour or two later. And that's how I do it. But working hard to dig out of holes that you find yourself in may be difficult, and in content creation it's no different. Now I know I was a little bit off topic in this video, but it was all applicable information to how one can go about dealing with this kind of thing. Everybody's different, I'm I'm not a psychiatrist, as I said before, but I think my own personal experiences with dealing with ADHD and autism and stuff like that could help you in your journey into figuring out your own mental health. But not focusing on numbers will also help. Just remember, it's just a number, not even a score, but it's just progress. And progress is the same thing as an experience bar in a video game. You know, eventually you'll get up to the next level and eventually be a level 100 Chansey that can be taken down in one hit by close combat from a Lucario or a Heracross or whatever. Either way, you need to remember that the wheel may turn slowly, but it turns. Thank you for watching this video, everybody, and I'll see you guys in the next one.